Well, he led the Grand Prix, but it wasn't to be a first ever Grand Prix victory on the occasion of his 100th Grand Prix for Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton so nearly back to the top step of the podium. But the story is the same as it has been on so many occasions this year. Max Verstappen simply too good, flawless, even with a fractured car. Welcome, folks, to your post-race show here from Circuit of the Americas, the US Grand Prix 2023. Max Verstappen has 50 Grand Prix victories in Formula One. Will Buxton with you for your post-race show. I'm delighted to be joined once again, as it happened all weekend, by James Hinchcliffe, and I think for the first time on a post-race show, Patricio Award. How are you, my man?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for the invitation.
Should I call you Pato or Patricio? Which do you prefer these days?
Mate, I don't mind. Whichever one is easier. I always go with Pato because it's 4 letters, super easy.
We'll do that.
Which one do you like?
I like Pato.
I feel like I'm 40 with Patricio.
Okay, fine.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go with Pato.
We'll stick with Pato for a few years.
Listen, man, you're such an important part of McLaren, racing for them, obviously, in IndyCar, but here this weekend as well, part of the Formula One team, and you'll be driving for them, in FP1 in Abu Dhabi at the end of the year. What's the vibe like down at the team right now, coming so close to that win?
It's good. I feel like it's a bit of a bittersweet, right? We ultimately started controlling the Grand Prix, and man, I was cheering for Lando to get that win on his 100th race. It's I think in terms of strategy, Mercedes proved to have a very strong one, using the medium whenever the car was quite a bit lighter at the end of the race. I think with Max using it in the middle of the race, you couldn't quite see that much of a difference from the hard to the medium, but as soon as the car started getting lighter, I feel like the step in performance was pretty big, and we used ours in P1, so we had to stick with the hard.
Yeah, it was really the story today of the mediums versus the hards. Practically nobody used the soft in the field today at all, other than AlphaTauri, Daniel Ricciardo at the end, but critically for AlphaTauri, Yuki Tsunoda, who ran home P10, got the fastest lap on the last lap, Hinch, and in that tight battle for last place in the Constructors' Championship, those points, those 2 points mean everything.
It's so important. It was a great call from the team. He's so lucky that he had the gap to do it. It's 20 seconds time lost on pit lane. He had enough time to come in, do it, throw on the softs, get the fastest lap of the race, and now the man himself joins us right here.
There we go.
What's up, mate? How you doing?
Good, thanks. Congrats.
Yuki, a great drive, fastest lap at the end as well. 2 points for you for AlphaTauri today. How much does that mean?
Yeah, it's big. You know, the 2 points and 1 point is a lot difference. You know, especially we're fighting a lot, really close midfield tight constructors championship. So, you know, it's small, but you know, we have to continue like this, build the points, and you know, in the end, hopefully we can, you know, be in a probably different position as now.
He started 11th, made it into the top 10. How was the race in general for you? Was it a pretty straightforward race to the end there, and then just lucky to have that gap enough to come in for the pit stop to get the softs on?
Yeah, to be honest, it was not easy race probably. We got slight lucky in the end from one of the Aston. Probably if they able to run like normal, probably was hard to score points. But still, if we were not driving around there, it still was impossible to score points. And to be honest, I got a heart attack last lap when they called me into the pit, and you know, they said, let's go for fastest lap, and then I a little bit relieved, but at the same time I got a bit extra pressure because I never done like this thing, so you know, I feel kind of thrilling, but at the same time I enjoyed that fresh tire.
So they didn't tell you ahead of time that's what they were doing? They just called box?
Yeah, they called me first
thinking,
box, and
that's so mean.
Yeah, I know, and they said the reason why I'm in the pit lane, so okay, finally, okay. Okay, it's not the issue of the engine, so that's good. It was a bit of funny moments.
Yeah.
There.
Yuki, the team brought a big upgrade package to the car this weekend. They're pushing all the way through to the end of this season. What can you do now in the Constructors' Championship, you think, given this momentum you have?
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, well done to the team, and you know, especially people who work in the background, and Sainz and Bister, you know, try to push like hell to improve our performance. We brought probably 3 races in a row, and probably we need a little bit of improvement, but we're making definitely progress race by race. So we continue like this, and definitely we now close the gap towards the towards top 10. So keep extracting performance from the car as much as possible, and nail the points.
Great stuff, man. We got to let him go. Yuki, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. P10, fastest lap, 2 points for AlphaTauri today. Thank you so much, man. A word for Daniel Ricciardo today, his first Grand Prix back in Formula One. Pato, how do you think he fared?
Say that again, I didn't hear
Daniel Ricciardo, P70.
No, I mean, he's been out of the car for a few weeks, and it seemed like, obviously, it's one of the physical tracks around the calendar, but it was really tough, I feel like, in practice. The cars looked like they were not very happy all the time. Like, it looked like the guys were struggling to kind of get to grips with it, and then you would see it from like Q1 to Q2, Q3, on the race runs, on the sprint. So I feel like it was a hard weekend, not just for maybe him, but for a lot of people. Yeah.
And Hinchman, this is one of the key things with Formula One, particularly this season. The cars are developing at such a rate, race by race by race. And then we get here to a sprint weekend, and so many teams bring in those upgrade packages and just the one practice session to try them out.
Well, it's incredible to think that there's still this many upgrades coming this late in the season, right? But of course, all of these things are still geared towards 2024 as well. You're already working on next year's car. It just shows that kind of, I don't want to say desperation, but urgency maybe to get these upgrades out. The fact you do it on a sprint weekend, but it is the head of a triple header, the start of a triple header. So you want to get those parts on the cars, start gathering whatever data you can, even if it is at a weekend where you're only getting one honest practice session with it. All those teams would have learned so much in between the sprint race and now the Grand Prix today. A lot of information to digest for all the teams that brought the big upgrades heading into Mexico.
And of course, one of those teams that brought the big upgrade this weekend was Aston Martin. It didn't look like it was working. They kept it on large Stroll cars, reverted to the original Qatar setup of the car for Fernando Alonso. He retired while running in P7, galling for him, because that would have been a big points haul for them. Right, let's talk Ferrari. In fact, we will talk Ferrari because Carlos Sainz is coming on into the show, a P4 today. Carlos,
hi.
Hello. Tough race out there today, man. How was it for you?
It felt like a good race, honestly. Yeah, it was a solid race for me. I think we had a good start. The first stint, I was a bit maybe over-optimistic, trying to stay in the DRS of Max and Lewis that were flying out there. And because of trying to stay in that DRS, I destroyed my front tires, which sent me on a two-stop. But the two-stop today was working well, and then on the next two stints, I could manage my tires well. I could set my pace, and on that pace on medium and hard, I actually ended up catching Lando, which must have been a good couple of stints.
Yeah, you were pulling off some fantastic overtaking moves today. Towards the end, did you think you were going to get him?
There was one lap I was a second quicker, and I said, well, if I keep doing this for the next 5, I will catch him. But then he recovered the tire after some fights, and he cooled down the tire, and he managed to recover a bit of pace, and then I was only half a second quicker, and it was not enough.
Tires are always a big challenge here. We talked a lot about drivers managing tires throughout the race, but we also heard some guys complaining about the wind. Did you feel that at all? Was it changing out there?
Well, these cars are so wind dependent, you know, that it's extremely difficult to predict what the car is going to do. And a couple of instances today, I went very quick into a high-speed corner, and suddenly the car was washing out, suddenly it was snapping. It's a bit what we have with these cars, or in particularly with the Ferrari this year. It's very, very tricky, but you just need to stay a bit under the limit, because in any point of the race it can give you a big scare.
Lovely stuff. Carlos, thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it. Great run today. We'll see you in Mexico in a couple of days' time. Thank you, Carlos Sainz. Ferrari, of course, one of the pretty much the big team today that ran for one driver with one stop, one driver with the 2 stops. We have guests aplenty today, and no bigger, literally and figuratively, than Mr. Anthony Joshua. How are you, sir?
All is well, thank you very much for asking.
Great to see you. Thank you for coming on the show. Listen, you are one of a new breed of investor and the Alpine F1 team. We know you better for your exploits, your pugilistic exploits within the ring. What's brought you into Formula One, into Alpine?
There's a lot of crossover happening in sports now. Obviously, I'm a fan of Formula One in general, but now to have a direct connection with a team, which is Alpine, makes it a bit more personal. And also the network that Alpine have created with investors, and also the team that they have in general, learning from them, they can learn from me. They do a lot of good charity work behind the scenes, which I like as well. So we're just gonna all bring our resources together and hopefully push the numbers up. Nice.
Were you aware, when you started to get involved, who else was going to be involved? Because the list now is crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't aware, at the start, but then the more you get involved in something, the more you find out. And I think it's been really good. But it's not just like a monetary thing, it was access as well. Being here with you guys, being in Texas, I've never been to Austin before, so it's a first for everything. So the exposure is well worth the investment as well.
Nice. What's been the best experience that's come out of this week for you?
Being here with you guys right now. You know?
Shit. Come on, come on.
Nice.
Everything, 10 out of 10. I can't put one thing to say this was my best experience, but what I would say is if you haven't experienced it yet, try and get out to a race and experience the whole show, because a lot goes into it, and it's 10 out of 10.
And the sportsmanship as well. These guys, the athletes that they are. When you talk to the drivers, do you find commonalities between what you've been through in your sporting career?
Yeah, like all they're trying to do really is perform for their team, because when you say the drivers, we forget about the backroom staff. They got a big team behind the scenes that put in so much work, and they want to win just as much as the drivers. So they want to win for the team, and they want to win for their family and fans. And that's like us. What we want to do is make our coaches proud, make our fans proud, and our family. So we've got similarities in that sense, and where we're going to understand each other more is when we sit down and start talking about preparation and being diligent and all that type of stuff.
Nice. Are you coming to any more races this year? What's next for you?
I can't wait to get back in the gym. I'm motivated from being here, and I'm going to fight in December. Not sure who, but my goal is to just stay consistent, keep on competing.
Cool. Do you know where?
London. We'll be in London.
Nice. Love that. Love that. All the best. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, AJ. Appreciate it, man. Mr. Anthony Joshua on the show. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Of course, so many big name investors coming in at Alpine over the course of this season. Interesting race today for Pierre Gasly. A couple of interesting moves with your guy, Mr. Piastri, earlier on in the race.
Yeah, it was a bummer that...
It was Ocon with Piastri, sorry.
We
But yeah.
had, the engine issue with Oscar, but it... sorry.
Yeah, with Piastri and Ocon. Little. Oh, it's quite a big hit at the start of the race.
It looked a lot more violent on the camera, because I feel like we didn't see Piastri's right rear wheel go into him, but I guess it was pretty bad.
Yeah. And it was a water leak in the end for Piastri, and the side pod issue, of course, which called an end to Esteban Ocon's race. Pierre Gasly, Hinch, we didn't really see much of him out on track today, which is similar to the sprint yesterday, but getting up into the points for Alpine, they'll be happy with that.
Yeah, and I think especially after the frustration of the last race, you know, when Qatar didn't run quite as well as his teammate Esteban Ocon, got nailed with some of those penalties, was outside the points. So to come here, again, we talked to Jack Doonan in the, was it weekend warm? No, it was the first FP1, after FP1. And even they were shocked by the pace that this team had. They no, it was after qualifying. I take that back.
It's been a long weekend.
It has been. We've had a lot of sessions on track. But because they were so high in qualifying, I think the entire team was a little bit surprised. And we talked about it at the top of the show. It's really important in those situations when you get that sort of surprise speed to capitalize on it, right? You don't want to waste those top 10 grid spots. They didn't today. Unfortunately, obviously, Ocon not having the best day with that contact with Piastri, but for Gasly to bring home a couple points, I think it was a nice rebound from last week.
Pierre Gasly will be joining us in a little bit, so we'll be able to discuss his race. Now, we spoke to Carlos Sainz very quickly there. Team orders at Ferrari today. Charles Leclerc didn't seem overly impressed being told to move out of the way for Carlos Sainz, despite the fact he was on that one-stop strategy and seemed at the time to be far slower.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Mate, commentating is definitely not my career and not my future career. I feel so out of place. No, I mean, I feel like I could hear Charles was a little flustered there in the end, because obviously the strategies were very different, but it's obviously not the same as it is in IndyCar. The team orders here in F1 are quite a bit stronger usually. Wouldn't you agree? So
For sure. Yeah.
For me, it's still kind of like, it's still of a learning curve, I guess, part of Formula One, knowing a bit and just learning a bit more of kind of like when they come in and when they don't.
Yeah, right.
Because sometimes I'm surprised when they come in, and then you would expect them to come in certain situations and kind of nothing really comes about.
So given this situation, right, we saw Leclerc, the only guy in the maybe in the entire race that just made the one-stopper work or tried to make the one-stopper work. You've got Carlos coming up on him. Do you understand and agree with the call for Ferrari to just let let that happen, let Sainz try to chase down the podium?
I mean, I think it's fair to not waste time with your teammate. And that's a little bit of how we like to work with McLaren and IndyCar, where obviously each guy is running his own race, right? But ultimately, what you don't want is you don't want to give up time and give up too much lap time by blocking and by fighting on both cars, because it's a loss on both, right? So it's kind of like a give and take situation. I think it's fine for the team trying to get the maximum out of whatever stronger car was or whatever the stronger strategy was at that point. But, you know, it's...
We can hear now from Charles Leclerc and hear what he made of that team order incident.
Hey Charles, just how tough was it out there from a race pace performance level today?
Well, to be honest, more than tough, it was just the wrong strategy. One stop was definitely not the right thing to do. For some reasons, our numbers were making them much closer, and it wasn't, so it's a bit of a shame.
Are you quite surprised that kind of got it wrong in terms of the correlation and the predictions of what strategies might have worked today?
Yes, yes, because our numbers were different, so we need to understand what went wrong there.
Has it been like that at all this season? Have you ever been out by that much over the course of the year?
I don't know, I still need to look the numbers, etc. Today looked pretty bad because obviously starting first, it's finishing sixth. Carlos and myself are good references. Carlos finished, I think, 10 seconds in front, so it's a significant difference and much more than what we expected, so we'll try and look into that.
Hard luck, thank you.
There you go, there you have it. That is Charles Leclerc's reaction to the race today. Just quickly, I want to cover off Lance Stroll, who started from the pit lane today in that Aston Martin, running the upgrade that hadn't really seemed to work all the way through this weekend, Hinch. Solidly in the points, and I think for me a really solid drive from him.
Really good recovery drive. Really, really happy with that performance. He's got to be. The team has to be. And the team actually said they said that the updates actually did work the way they thought. It's just the setup that they got wrong. And again, the sprint format, one practice session, no chance to really change it. They bit that bullet by making all the setup changes they wanted for the race, starting from pit lane, and look at the result. So I think if anything, this should be a massive, lift up for that team, a huge positive that once they had the opportunity to refine the new updates and upgrades a little bit, the pace seemed to be there. So fingers crossed, that's a sign of things to come.
Alonso did retire from P7, but he was ahead of Lance Stroll at the time of his retirement with the former iteration of the car. It'll be fascinating to see which direction Aston Martin choose to go in after this point. Here is your man, Pierre Gasly. Pierre, we've just been talking about you and Alpine this weekend. Great to see you guys up there in the points. But from the promise of practice, qualifying, were you hoping for more or happy with where you're at?
I mean, as a competitive driver, you always aim for more, but then as an objective person, this was the absolute best we could have got out of the weekend. You know, ahead of us, we got the Mercedes of George, which is a car that finishes on the podium with Lewis on both races. So as much as we would like to be in that battle, we're just not there yet. We just don't have that performance. So it was really well executed from the whole team, really well maximized, both qualifying in Q3s. Yesterday P7 behind George, today P8 behind George. So probably the best weekend of the season, I must say.
Disappointing, obviously, for Esteban to retire from the race today. When the focus all came in on you, did that make the decision-making easier over where you were going? Was there ever much of a debate over 2 stops, 1 stops, how you were going to play it?
No, there wasn't. First time it came up is when Charles came to see me on the grid and said, "You also going for a 1 stop?" And I was like, there is no fucking way I'm going for a 1 stop. He was like, okay. And then, yeah, we looked at each other. I don't know if we're our numbers. At that time, I was a bit confused with what he was saying. But, yeah, it turned out that I think we definitely did the best strategy we could. And, yeah, from his face after the race, I don't think he really liked that 1-stop strategy. So, yeah, I think I'm very happy with the whole weekend. It was a strong performance from the team, and that's what we need to build on for next season.
Good stuff. Apologies for the bad language. What's next for you guys in terms of where you're headed development-wise? Any big upgrades to come over the next few races, or are you sticking with this package now till season's end?
It's 4 more races, so that's what we got. You know, that's we got to do the best we can with that car, and yeah, we'll try to repeat this kind of performance like we've done this weekend. And I think the most important is just to that consistency we need to find for next season. I hope next season we have a stronger package. Hopefully we can fight further up the grid, and I think now it's all about the execution and try to do complete weekends. Yeah.
Love your stuff. Thanks for coming on, Pierre. Appreciate you being here.
Good to see you.
Pato, talk to us about, as a racing driver, when you go into a race weekend and you know you're not going to be winning the race, you're not going to be fighting for a podium, that P8 ultimately would be the best result you could possibly pull out with 4 faster teams ahead of you. Bringing that result home, does that feel like a win, or is it when something unexpected happens and you're able to achieve more than expectation? Where does that satisfaction come from?
It's gotta be depending on, I feel like a lot of factors during the weekend. Sometimes, like I've talked it through with IndyCar, with our IndyCar team, and it's like sometimes a 5th place finish feels more fulfilling than maybe a podium in certain instances, because of either where you started or how the car was feeling, or etc. etc. So I feel like it really depends on a lot of factors, but ultimately I feel very grateful that I can go to every race and I can say we can win. We have a shot to win.
But then does it hurt more when you don't?
I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow whenever you're super close and it doesn't. Yeah, because we experienced that too many times this year.
I know, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to rub that in. I'm sorry.
Don't remind me. But no, I mean, as a competitor, you always want to win. But I feel like a win isn't always a P1, right? There's a lot of different objectives that you can be kind of, knocking out of the park during the year. And a lot of those are just objectives and goals that you set with the team. And sometimes they're met, sometimes they're not. And then you get back to work and you try and get it done. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. We go. I was wondering when you were going to say that. Marta Garcia, F1 Academy champion. Welcome back to F1 TV. We had a great catch up with you earlier in the season. You were leading the championship then. You never lost your grip on it. Won the title this weekend. How great does it feel to call yourself finally F1 Academy champion?
First of all, my voice is really bad.
Have you been partying?
Not really. It's just the throat is really bad. But no, obviously I'm really happy with the win. It's been hard. It's been hard. We had a lot of months working with the team, working on the sim, on track, off track, And it feels just great to win here in Austin, to win the race and to win the championship. It's just really, really, really crazy.
I got to ask you, Marta, it's the first year for F1 Academy. You also had experience with W Series. How different was it this year in F1 Academy, working with a team like Prima, all of the practice that you got, the preparation that you had each weekend?
I think you said it all. Basically, one of the points that I would say is we got a lot of track time. We had a lot of testing days, 15 test days. Then we had also 2 free practice of 40 minutes, 2 qualifyings, and then 3 races, which is a lot of track time. And it's great, for not just for me, but also for the youngers coming to single-seaters. And also the teams. Like, I'm racing with Prema. Prema is in F2, in F3. And it's not just Prema, it's all of the teams that are working are from junior single-seaters.
The schedule for next year's come out, a lot more rounds with Formula One. This was the first time that you guys ran on an F1 race weekend. Does that put more pressure on it? Does it make a good day feel better and a bad day feel worse? How was it?
I mean, it was great. About next year, obviously, it's going to be really good because everything's going to be with F1. I'm not going to be here. I'm going to move up to something else. Still don't know what. But I think it's great, to be here with F1, the visibility that we get. We're being broadcasted. And I think it's just great. That I think that's what we need. And I think this is what we need also for women in motorsport.
Marta, as we look at the calendar now for next year, it looks really exciting. What is the next step for you? Do you have the plan yet for 2024?
I don't know yet. I'm not sure. I can't say anything. But there's something, of course. F1 Academy wants to get me to a higher category.
So you do know and you can't say?
I can't say. I don't know. So we will know. Maybe
Europe
some days.
or America?
I'm what?
Europe or America?
Oh,
Let's just leave it there.
No, come on.
Let's just leave it there.
Okay.
Good question.
Marta, where's the party at tonight in Austin? Because you're going to be celebrating, surely.
6th Street, 5th Street, I don't know which one is it.
Dirty
There we go.
six.
There it is.
LFG.
There we go. There we go. Thank you so much for coming on. Marta, listen, we've been following your career for such a long time, since you first arrived on our radar through W Series into F1 Academy. We can't wait to see what the next step is.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. Marta Garcia, remember the name, F1 Academy's first world champion. Right, to Williams.
I think she comes to America.
You reckon?
And that was an interesting question. I
Yes,
think you
because-
caught her off guard with that.
Yeah. I mean, that was a fair question.
It's-
She didn't want to tell us where. Well, just give us like a area, zone idea.
See, this pundit thing, it is good for you.
It's slowly
See, you're
working out,
natural.
yeah.
You're
He's warming
getting-
up to it.
You're getting your feet in the shoes pretty quick, man. This is good. Williams, Logan Sargeant, and Alex Albon. Alex got a pen after the race for track limits infringements. He is now, still is, 11th. Logan Sargeant, P12. Will Logan take some satisfaction out of this, being closer to Alex by the checkered flag?
You have to. I mean, it was a really, really strong performance in the race. You know, still struggled a little bit getting the ultimate lap time in qualifying, but to finish 12th, pretty sure that matches his best result in a Grand Prix, but more importantly, to be that much closer to Albon. That was kind of the goal, I think, for this weekend. Close that gap, be mistake-free, run a good race, and he did all of those things. Checked all those boxes. I think this is one that hopefully builds up a little bit of confidence in him. He ran free practice in Mexico last year. He's got a little bit of track time there, so hopefully it's a bit of momentum he can carry into next week and really finish this season strong.
Pato, Logan Sargeant has come under such a lot of pressure this season as a rookie in Formula One. Have you ever had a time in your career where things have been going really, really with a lot of difficulty and you've struggled to find that form, to regain that form?
Many times, not just once. I think the most recent one that I remember was Super Formula in Japan, when I was kind of en route to come to Formula One. The Super license doesn't work out. I get shipped off to Japan. The problem is that since testing is so limited, and you really, maybe 15 years ago, guys that were coming into Formula One had a lot of testing. I mean, it was a lot of days to come into a race weekend. So when you arrived at the race weekend, I mean, you felt confident, you felt at home with everything, with just how everything felt. And I think now with it being so limited, it's tough, man, because you're going up against really, really good guys. And it's like this in Formula One. It's like this in IndyCar. I think the story is a bit different this year with us going back to the hybrid, or not going back, going to a new hybrid. But just not having as much testing, going up against very, very good guys, and there is no car that can prepare you for a Formula One car.
Yeah.
Like I've had the chance to drive a lot of amazing race cars. I've driven the Formula 2 car, I've driven the Indy car, I've driven obviously Indy Lights cars and
Super
all
Formula.
the
Super
Super
Formula,
Formula, like all these different cars. And the F1 car is just so much more grip, so much more power. And it's tough. It's tough to get the confidence in it. And when you're talking about tenths, like we're not talking about seconds. It's like, it's 4 tenths off, 3 tenths off. It's not a lot of lap time. In racing, it's a world of lap time. But in reality, it's not a lot. But to extract that from a car that you're quite not comfortable with yet, it's tough. And I completely had that. I've had it many times in my career. And the most recent one was definitely in Japan. No testing, no nothing. You get thrown into a lagoon with a bunch of crocodiles and you're just like, survive. so it's definitely tough.
Logan Sargeant currently P12, Alex Albon currently P11, but despite the fact he has already been given a penalty, Alex Albon is under further investigation for more track limits, potential infringements today. Let's hear from Logan Sargeant, finishing narrowly behind his teammate Alex Albon.
Hey Logan, considering where you started, you must be pretty pleased with the amount of positions you made up in today's race.
Yeah, I think it was a good race. Another really good start, just made a mistake and hit the sausage curb in turn 1 and lost a few positions there. But other than that, really, really good race pace. A huge turnaround from yesterday for me and the team to get the car in a positive direction, and also for myself, just drive better. Pretty simple. I think we did good at managing the tires, held on to the end, and it was a good race.
How did you kind of turn things around overnight? Was it, I said that you were saying yesterday you needed a little bit maybe with your driving, and then just the team needs to understand the package a bit better for you?
Yeah, I altered my driving for sure. today was a bit more of a management race, starting with high fuel. But other than that, we worked a lot with the tools I have on my, at my disposal on the steering, and that made a huge difference. And maybe a direction I need to work on more, keep improving in that direction from FP1, and maybe that can help me going forward. But yeah, still proud of the turnaround we had overnight.
And ultimately, do you think that was one of your strongest performances, if not your strongest this year?
From a pace perspective, 100%. Still a few little mistakes. Mistake in turn 1, my pit stops on my side weren't good, made it difficult on the team. So I need to, just get those little things right. They make a difference in the end of the race. So other than that, happy with the pace and glad to show some progress.
Great stuff. Thanks, Logan.
As Logan says, progress is the name of the game today. George Russell, not able to make the progress that he would have wanted in today's race. Hinch, when you consider Hamilton's pace at the end of that Grand Prix, will George Russell be disappointed with his result?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just it. I was a little bit excited. I think I mentioned it in the pre-race. George has been really good on the racecraft side the last few rounds. We've seen some really cool overtake moves from him over the last few rounds, and I was expecting a little bit more of the same, especially when you consider how far, Hamilton pushed that car, how close he got to the victory today. George is going to look back, I think, the weekend as a whole and try to figure out how Hamilton got on top of it in qualifying better, what Hamilton did better in the race to manage the pace. So for 7th place, I think he's going to be a little bit disappointed with that.
Contrasting races then for Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Our Laura Winter has caught up with Toto Wolff.
Well, Toto, congratulations today. A great P2 for Lewis Hamilton, and one in which strategy was oh so important. How did you see it?
Yeah, I think we had a quick car, maybe the quickest. We believed that a one-stop would stick, but it didn't. But it was so close. So, yeah, we need to take the positives. The car was good.
Cautious optimism for the upgrades yesterday. How are you feeling about them today?
Still cautious, optimistic. I think we need a few more data when we go now to Mexico. But yeah, good step.
And Mexico, some hope. I guess if you feel that you were perhaps the fastest car today, I'll tell you now, so did Christian Horner, actually.
Sorry, what did he say?
So did Christian Horner. He said Red Bull weren't the fastest car. You think you were.
Did he say they were the fastest car?
He said, we don't think we were the fastest car today, and you think you were the fastest car. So hope for Mexico.
Yeah, it's good that he says that, but at the end we didn't win and he did.
You didn't, but there was a fight back for Lewis in those dying laps. How were they for you?
Yeah, it was good. At a certain stage it looked like we can't catch him, like 5 laps to the end, and then suddenly we made big inroads, but it wasn't enough.
And a solid race for George Russell today as well?
Yeah, he was struggling at times, and then the performance was really great again. We need to find out what there's something that didn't work for him on the car.
Great stuff. Thank you, Toto.
Interesting stuff. Something didn't work on the car, something which did seem to work. Certainly for Lewis Hamilton, that floor upgrade influenced so heavily from their 2024 car design. There will be a lot of optimism down at Mercedes that they are finally taking the right direction to take this battle to Red Bull Racing. Now, Pat, I want to ask you about your countryman, Sergio Perez. He goes to his home Grand Prix next week. The pressure on his shoulders, will the Grand Prix weekend here have given him some optimism, I guess, going into his home run Grand Prix?
It was better, certainly better than Qatar. If you think if he takes this same step forward or up again, he's on the podium in Mexico. So I think it's heading into the right direction. Just like everything, man, it's tough. It's tough because it wasn't just one race that it was bad. I mean, it was a multiple occasion kind of thing where it takes a toll on you, always will, no matter how strong you might be mentally or things like that. It's definitely gonna take its toll on you. But I think this was a very good weekend to kind of like recover a bit, get back on your feet, and then try and push forward more.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for that. You'll be able to hear an exclusive interview with Sergio Perez in your pre-race show for the Mexican Grand Prix next weekend. Now we welcome to the show. It is a guest-heavy show today. Bianca Bustamante, welcome to the show.
Hello, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on. Teammate with Pato now, part of the McLaren Academy of Drivers.
A little bit nervous standing next to Pato. Yeah.
No. Don't worry, I was choking under pressure a few minutes before.
Yeah,
this.
Pato's the nervous one right now. It's all good.
Expectations not high.
Okay.
F1 Academy, now aligned with the McLaren Formula One team. You must be so excited about what the future holds.
mean, really over the moon right now. I mean, it is such a big development. I wasn't expecting myself to be in this position, to be honest. But, you know, F1 Academy coming here to F1 actually means a lot, not just to me, but to all the girls and to all the other drivers that would aspire to be in this position one day. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure representing the papaya colors, but I promise to do my best.
What have you learned this year? What are the biggest takeaways that you had from this season?
Well, one of the biggest things is the amount of track time we actually got. 15 days testing secured, and of course the private test we've done with Prema Racing as well. And the fact that I actually got to compete as well with a mixed grid such as F4 UAE, Italian F4 championships that really teaches you a lot as a driver. You know, you're driving with the best F4 drivers out there, and that will potentially make it to Formula One one day. So it sets quite a high reference. In the end, we close down the gap, and we develop a lot driving-wise and just gaining more confidence in the car, to be honest.
You've had such a busy season. I know you have. Testing over the winter, what's next for you?
Well, being part of the development program, obviously we're working a lot on making sure that we have the best program for next year. Make sure we get as maximum track time as possible, and as well as working physically. And I think the most important part is just all in the head. I mean, that's one thing we kind of realized this season, is that most of the time we did have the pace, practice, but just couldn't put it together on quali just because of pressure, or just, you know, like, it's such a mental game. And heading into the races, you know, we would always make up a lot of positions, and just, yeah, need to put it together next year.
Fantastic. It's one of the most important aspects, of course, of F1 Academy, isn't it? That educational process within the system. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We can't wait to see what you get up to next year. For now, though, this man, Mr. Hinchcliffe, took Laura Winter on a, thanks, Bianca, on a hot laps tour around this circuit here at Circuit of the Americas earlier this weekend.
Which car?
Well, I'm absolutely delighted that James Hinchcliffe is back with the F1 TV family for this weekend. So delighted, in fact, that I've twisted his arm and he is about to take me on hot laps around this brilliant racetrack. But
it's not just hot laps, is it?
Oh no, I am putting you to the test. This is the F1 Live USA quiz. Here we go. Are you ready for this quiz?
No, I'm absolutely not.
James Hinchcliffe, what year did Circuit of the Americas open? 05, 12, or 13?
12.
Correct!
Yeah. God, wait till we start going fast. You're gonna really struggle.
As a percentage, how often are Sam Collins's rain predictions correct? Okay, 30%.
It gets better later in the lap, don't worry.
25%?
Yeah.
Or 0%?
I'm gonna go with 25%.
No, 0%, obviously.
Sam, you're letting me down, buddy.
What is Will Buxton known for? Formula One journalism, modelling, or dramatic pauses?
Dramatic pauses.
Correct!
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, who is the only other racing driver to feature on Dancing with the Stars?
Elia Castroneves.
Yes, tick! According to Wikipedia, what are your two nicknames?
Wow. Hinch, does that count as one?
Yeah,
okay.
tick.
The mayor.
Of?
Hinchtown.
Yes! Right. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, I feel very sick.
No, come on.
Oh, God, come on then. Okay, we go again. We go again. Could you put both hands on the wheel, please, and look at the track?
Fine.
Thank you.
God, you're so demanding.
Okay, what is Will Buxton's favourite colour to wear? Brown, beige, or oatmeal?
I was going to say beige, but that almost sounds too pedestrian for Will. Maybe it's oatmeal.
Yes!
There we go.
Oh, God! This track is incredible. Okay. Okay. Which F1 TV presenter is known for their shoe collection?
Loris Moretto.
Correct! Okay, last question.
Okay.
And there is only one correct answer to this question.
Okay.
Who is your favourite member of the F1 TV team?
I'm going to go, well, look, it has to be Laura Winter.
Yes, correct! Ding, 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 ding! No, mate, seriously, this has been epic. Thank you so much.
Well done. You survived.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, my God.
running. Wonderful stuff there, Hinch. You can catch more of the silliness on F1 TV by signing up to the QR code that is on the screens around the circuit right now, or if you're watching this through your phone or computer, f1tv.com. Come and join the fun. Guys, it's been a great weekend, hasn't it? But the top three today, really, Pato, in a league of their own.
Yes. Like I said, I was cheering for my boy Lando. I think it would have been just a really cool place to do it at because it's his 100th Grand Prix. But I guess you can never take Red Bull out of the formula. And all different strategies. I think the best one was Lewis, definitely. I think he needed one more lap to really have a chance at Max. I don't think Max was trying to manage the gap. What do you think? You think he was trying to manage it, or?
We're going to get Hinch's reaction in a minute because Laura Winter has managed to grab Lando Norris.
There you go.
We got to
hear from him instead.
Laura and Lando right now.
Lando, P3 today, your 4th consecutive podium. What is your overwhelming feeling?
I'm very happy, yeah. It could have been a lot worse. I think it's always tough, you know. I'm sure when you look at it from the outside, you're like, oh, he's led so much of the race. Did he lose out? But I don't think so at all. We just didn't have the pace today. I felt like what I did in the first stint was very, very good. But it was just clear we were not as quick as Mercedes and Red Bull. Not on pace. I think we're close on pace, but just in degradation. Too much degradation. So things to improve. We know it's our weakness in the car, and it's probably hard to improve it a lot this year. But next year we'll do it.
Well done today. You better run to the press conference now. Thanks, Lando. Congratulations.
Great to hear from Lando Norris. Hinch, you can finish your thought now.
I've already lost my train of thought. No, I think...
top three.
Yeah, well, you were asking about Max managing the gap. I'm with you. It got too close there.
Yes.
And it started at like 4 or 5 seconds, whatever, once Lewis got into second place, and letting it creep all the way down to a 1.5 seconds, that's risky.
I mean, if he was managing it, it would have been...
2.5.
Yeah, like he probably would have kept it there.
And it would have been less if Ricciardo had kind of paid more attention to the blue flags on the last lap as well. It was coming down.
I'm telling you, man, one more lap, and it was going to be a battle.
Such an interesting reversal from last year, right? When it was Max chasing down Hamilton with a handful of laps to go. But the result was the same.
There you go. Let's hear then from your top two drivers today, Lewis Hamilton, and for the 50th time in Formula One, a Grand Prix won by Max Verstappen.
Hey Lewis, congratulations, epic drive out there. What's the kind of overriding emotion though? Because obviously you saw Max, you saw that win just in the grasp and you were catching him all the way.
I think on one side I'm happy to, came to second. But I think, honestly, I think we could have won today. So partly frustrated that we didn't get it right. But we'll review it and see what possibilities there were. But I do think we should have undercut Lando at the beginning and gone in the lead. Yeah, but it wasn't meant to be.
Heard you thanking the team on radio for the upgrade that they brought, everyone constantly just pushing. How much does this result give you confidence that you're going in the right direction?
Yeah, definitely the upgrade gives me confidence we're going in the right direction. And we need a few more, one or two more like that. We don't have that coming this year, but at least that puts us on the pathway to next year, so that's a positive. So it makes me feel like we're going in the right direction. I'm happy with that.
Okay, so congrats. Hey Max, congratulations on your 50th Grand Prix victory, but was that one of the hardest fought wins you've had with those brake problems you had to encounter?
Yeah, it was definitely harder than I expected it to be after yesterday. For sure, people probably learned a bit more after yesterday, but from my side, of course, having to deal with the brake issues, which were not giving me a lot of confidence on the braking. It's not very easy to deal with. The track has a lot of deck, and when you cannot look after the tires and the braking as you would like, yeah, it makes it all a bit more tricky. But yeah, nevertheless, I think the other teams were also very competitive today, and yeah, it was not that straightforward.
When you were kind of making your way through the field as the race went on, were you still pretty confident that your strategy was going to work out? Because sometimes it looked like maybe Lando and Lewis might try one stop, and were you a bit worried about that, or were you pretty confident?
No, I mean, quite early on I could see the one stop was not going to work. But yeah, the mediums all felt okay, but the hard tires were not that great in this race. And of course, my final stint was on the hard tires. Yeah, it all made it probably a little bit more complicated. But I think as a team, we still did the right strategy. But of course, one stint you need to be on a hard tire.
And just finally, GP said he won't see you till Friday. What was that all about?
Because he's flying home.
Got you. Then
That's
he'll come
why.
back again.
He already told me before the race that he wouldn't be there in case I was on the podium. So on the in lap he would leave. So that's why
that's
he
a nice
told me.
touch. All right, thank you.
Excellent that we had that explained. Segue into a promo for our wonderful podcast, F1 Explained. It's been great to have Katie, Christian out here this week with us here in Austin. Don't forget to listen to the F1 Explained podcast. It is absolutely fantastic. Everything you ever needed to know or wanted to know about Formula One, and a bunch of stuff you may never have thought to ask. Boys, before we wrap this thing up, how much have you enjoyed this weekend? What are your takeaways from the US Grand Prix?
You go first.
You want me to go first? All right, well, look, takeaways are simple. The crowd here is incredible. Second year in a row, over 400,000 people across the 3 days. Just amazing. Such a great atmosphere. It's easy to see why all the drivers, all the teams love coming here. The racing on track is as good as it's ever been. Maybe the gap is closing to Red Bull. Maybe not. Maybe it was a brake problem that made Max a little bit closer, but it's great to see those updates from Mercedes working. Maybe the updates from Aston are starting to work now that we've seen the race, but it's just
reversing the reversal.
Reversing the reversal, and it's just so great to see this much still change. I know the championships are done, but there's still so much changing week to week in the series. And with a couple races left to go, I think we're going to have some bangers coming.
You enjoyed it?
I have enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what McLaren's got in store for the next few races. Because I think this...
Tell us all about it. What do they have in store?
Well, James, this track historically has been one of the difficult ones for us, and it went quite well.
I'd say so.
Apart from Oscar having the issue, Lando was pretty sporty.
Yeah.
So, if this is the worst it's gonna get,
hey,
only
who
up
knows?
from here, mate.
By the time you get in that car in Abu Dhabi, it might be a Grand Prix win. I mean, it's already a race-winning car this year. It might be a Grand Prix winning car by the time you get in it.
Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom. Folks, around the track and at home, thank you so much for tuning in this weekend. If you are at the track, travel home safe. But before you do, scan that QR code, sign up to F1 TV, and if you are watching from home, you can catch us on your screens every single weekend live from the tracks. It has been a great weekend here in Austin, Texas. We go again in a couple of days' time in Mexico City. We can't wait to be there. And as always, you can catch it all here on F1 TV. This is your schedule for the Mexican Grand Prix. It all starts on Thursday, the 26th of October, with your weekend warm-up, 4:30 local time, then practice 1 and practice 2 on Friday. It is a normal weekend, not a sprint. Saturday, the 28th, practice 3 in the morning, qualifying at 3. Then on Sunday, the Formula One Gran Premio de la Ciudad de Mexico Grand Prix. Did I get that right, Pato?
It's like a Spanish accent.
It's
That's
the
cute.
best I can do.
We'll pass
2
it.
p.m. for the race on Sunday, the 29th of October. Hopefully, my accent will be better by then. My thanks to you all for watching. My thanks to Laura Winter, to James Hinchcliffe. My apologies and thanks for Pato Award after I threw him under the bus. We'll see you in Mexico City. Thank you so much for tuning in. From all of us here in Austin, Texas, a very warm goodbye.
Time for some tequila.